state legislators helping to push to get real estate in Pennsylvania open back up. She was always prepared, always knowledgeable of the process, and always supportive of our decisions in any way that she could be. And I personally am ever so grateful for her leadership, experience, dedication, and fierceness through this crazy time. By definition, 2020 has been a year of many firsts. The association had no in-person events. We held our continuing ed classes via Zoom, and a big shout out to Maria for all of her patience with members as we adapted to using this platform for our classes. We held our first ever virtual 5K. We did our first ever drive-through voting for the board of director candidates, and now we are conducting our first ever virtual annual meeting. And even after all that, I doubt that this is the last of the firsts, and that's okay, because times of hardship and struggle provide us with new opportunities to grow, learn, and adapt, so long as our minds and our hearts are open to change. In closing, I want to leave you with a thought as we continue to navigate through uncharted waters. Please be kind, have empathy and compassion, and seek understanding without judgment to your fellow human beings. It is impossible for us as individuals to see the world through each other's lenses, and sometimes it's hard to remember that we are all fighting some kind of battle. Strive to be the good in the world that we so badly need right now. Keep your head up, keep fighting the good fight, and have faith that all will be good in the end. It is now my pleasure to introduce our 2020 RAYAC Treasurer, Ed Bender.
Thank you, Heather. My name is Ed Bender. I'm the RAYAC Treasurer. And like Heather said, to say that 2020 was unprecedented is probably an understatement. The real estate industry was closed down basically for 9 weeks, putting the livelihood of some of our members in peril. Fortunately, right now, real estate seems to be recovering and recovering very well, so be thankful for that. I'm happy to report that the finances for the association, we still remain in a very strong position. Our budget for 2021, we've made a few assumptions here, and one of them is going to be that we're going to be back doing in-person events. Whether that happens or not will remain fluid, but as of right now, we are budgeting that we will be doing in-person events. We also, over the course of the years, have always done a very conservative budget, and this year is no exception. We are anticipating a slight drop in membership, so we took that into consideration with our budget. So as you can see on the screen right there, we are budgeting a total income of $983,000 with expenses of $919,000, which would give us about a $63,000 profit. Our our reserves remain healthy at 1.1 million, so we are in a good situation there. Probably the most important thing that you care about is that we are holding our dues for this year at $560,000 or $560, not thousand, man, I'd put everybody out of business. This is the 7th year in a row that RAYAC has not increased our local dues. So, and also our lockbox fees will remain steady at $159, and that'll be due on July 1st. You will be receiving your annual dues in November, and they are due by January 2nd, so make sure you get those paid. If you have any questions as far as the treasurer goes, please reach out to me personally, and I will do the best I can to answer any questions you might have. Thank you, and right now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Kim Moyer, the Political Affairs Chairperson.
Just wanted to make sure you all see Green Bay Packers 4-0. Thank you, Ed. Did a nice job, Ed, as always. I thought the dues were going up to 5,000 a year, so thank you, Ed. which means all of you have extra money to donate to RPAC. Yes, we do take credit cards as well. As Ed said, I am Kim Moyer, and I have the privilege of serving as your political affairs chairman for the 67th year. Oh, no, that wasn't that. It's been a long time. You know, public officials make decisions every day that affect our business. So one of the reasons that I have invested in RPAC for so many years, and most of the people in this room, which you don't know how many are in this room, but there's like hundreds of people here. No, just joking. It's only a few of us. We have people that make decisions every day that affect us, how successful we can be in this business. And there are just issues in every legislative branch, local, that can affect us. So unfortunately, we need some money to help battle and keep our industry as vibrant as it has been at this point. So I want to give you a few examples of how this works. You know, we had that little thing called COVID that's still going on, and they shut us down for 9 weeks. Some folks called me up. They weren't too happy that I couldn't get something accomplished. Not really me, but RPAC. And trust me, they were working tirelessly to try to get us back to business. Unfortunately, we have a governor that didn't find us as life-sustaining business, but at least we still have people there fighting, and we need to continue that fight, that we stay open and keep this business as life-sustaining in my view, and I think many others out there, I'm sure all of you. Other things that we have done, just last week, the National Association of Realtors got passed the flood insurance program again, extended. Pennsylvania ranks 12th in the nation for flood insurance, so you know, there's a lot of business that would be lost if we couldn't continue with the flood insurance. So that's one of the things that we're doing. Not too many years ago, the government tried to look at taxing our commissions. Can you imagine 6% on top of our commissions that we'd have to pay out? It'd be a lot of money. These are things that we're always trying to get accomplished by stopping us being taxed, which affects our business, your livelihood, my livelihood. Recently, I heard one candidate's talking about increasing Social Security. You know, as independent contractors, you know we get hit with both sides of Social Security, so that would impact us. So we need to fight, we need the money. Unfortunately, this year we are off of our goal. We have had about 26% of you folks out there that have contributed thus far, but our goal is actually 37% by the state, so we still have work to do. The total amount that we have raised so far for RPAC is $26,013, which isn't bad. But we can do better. We need to get to hopefully over $30,000, so we still have time. November 1st is the deadline. And again, we take Visa, MasterCard. How about American Express? Yep, yeah, even American Express. Imagine that. So let's get out there. We still have time. I'm sure we'll be getting some phone calls. I have made some phone calls and got quite a bit of money last week alone. I raised over $1,300 in making some phone calls. So we can still do it and be all together with this. So we need 142 more members who have not invested in RPAC. 142. I know that sounds like a lot, but to get to our goal, we can do that with just as little as $15. I'd rather see the $99 club or the $1,000 club, but I'll take $15 club. $15 with 145 members will at least get us into our goal. So having said that, home ownership in the real estate market, it's the future of our industry, it's the future of your livelihood, so please invest. Now, I know what you all have been waiting for. What you've been waiting for is our RPAC sweepstakes. Yes, we want to see who won And I'm going to be doing that here momentarily with my assistant. What was that? Vanna White? Was it Vanna White? Yeah, okay. Vanna? So the first drawing is for the video ring doorbell. Video ring doorbell. As you can see, I am not looking, but here's the winner.
Wade Elfner.
Wade Elfner. All right. Wade, if you're watching, I expect a bonus for that. Second is the Apple Watch 3 series. Apple Watch 3 series. Here we go. Good luck. Who's that?
Greg Clymer.
Greg Clymer, I expect also a lunch, maybe a dinner for them. The next one is the winner of the Microsoft Surface Go 2. Microsoft Surface Go 2. Oh, wow, lots of people on that one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a lot of donations, so thank you for your donations. And the winner here is
Douglas Callahan.
Douglas Callahan. So Douglas, for that one, I don't know, that might be a golf outing. And the winner of the $1,000 Amazon gift card is, not quite as many in here, so you had a little better chance, but still a lot. Here we go.
Ahmed Islam.
There we go. Ahmed, congratulations. Congratulations to all the winners. And again, please remember RPAC. We are fighting hard. Your committee's fighting hard. We need to keep the fight going locally, nationally, in the state. So thank you again very much for that. I appreciate all your support. Continued health and success in 2020, and we'll make 2021 even better. Now, it's my pleasure to bring back to our stage our 2020 RAYAC President, Heather Krieger.
All right. So now we are going to do our candidate introductions for the Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to introduce those 4 individuals. So we have a total of 4 seats up for election, and the Leadership Development Committee has vetted and is presenting a slate of 4 candidates to fill those 4 seats. At this time, I would like to introduce the slate of candidates. Your candidates are Simon Overmiller with Iron Valley Real Estate, Brad Schaefer with Sites Realty, Reed Weinbaum with Keller Williams Keystone, and Tony White with Berkshire Hathaway. I want to give a special thanks to all the RAYAC members who came into the office to cast their absentee ballot. I am pleased to announce that we have reached quorum for the election, and all 4 gentlemen have been duly elected to serve as RAYAC Board of Directors in 2021. Congratulations. It is now my pleasure to introduce your 2020 RAYAC Vice President and President-elect, Ms. Tina Llorente.
Thanks, Heather. Can you believe it? We're finally here. Welcome to our first ever virtual annual meeting. Those of you who know me know how much I love technology, so I really miss seeing your smiling faces, but know that at least a few of you are out there watching this live event, coffee cup in hand. So the recovery of the 2020 housing market has been nothing short of remarkable. As Heather was saying, in March, who among us could have suspected this is where we would be in October? Equity is growing in our homes. Our mortgage rates are incredibly, ridiculously low. What a crazy year it's been. But we have a solid seller's market, so a little tough for the buyers, but an amazing time to be a seller. The investment in homeownership is solid, and the dream of homeownership is a challenge we get to meet every day in our industry. And thanks to our wonderful members and affiliates, our friends and colleagues in lending, title, appraisers and inspectors, the trusted teamwork makes our local professional organization strong. Throughout this turbulent year, your board has been and continues to work on your behalf. Dynamic leadership for the 2021 future of Bridget, Elle, Ed, Pat, Nathan, Tony, Brad, Simon, and Reed. We look forward to helping you all in your personal businesses as well. As you do business with all of them this year, please thank them for their willingness to serve. Since you can't shake hands with them, do an elbow bump as you see them out showing properties. We don't know what 2021 will bring us. Realtors are problem solvers, though. And when I say realtor, the words that come to mind are passion, cash, because we all like to make our living, preparation, and professionalism. And we all have the tools to succeed and the ability to rise to the challenges to assist our community. Realtors represent the future. Housing is our responsibility. And this year, more than ever, we need to be flexible. How does real estate lead the way? Practice the golden rule in your business. There are tech tools, NAR, PAR, C2EX, your local company information. Join a committee, please. Join a task force. Start a panel. You have an idea? Did you do something different during the COVID shutdown? Do you know how to do a virtual tour? Why not offer to teach a 30-minute course here at RAYAC? During the pandemic, we all learned new ways to do things. So if you've done something new with your database, share that. There's plenty of business to go around, and now is the time to invest in our Realtors Association and each other. Together, we can be stronger. I can't wait to see you all across the settlement table in 2021. And I wanted to take a couple of minutes just to share an update about the RAYAC Foundation as well. The foundation is near and dear to my heart as a past foundation board member. I strongly believe that the RAYAC Foundation supports the work to raise money for our local housing-related charities in York and Adams County. It's no surprise that this year the foundation took a huge hit due to COVID-19. As was mentioned earlier, all of our fundraising events had to be canceled, so sadly, the foundation will not be able to award the normal amount they typically award to the various charities. The foundation board did get creative this year and came up with 2 fundraising options to do in a safe and socially distanced manner. The first fundraising event is the $20 in 2020 campaign. The foundation board is asking each and every RAYAC member to donate $20. Don't go to Starbucks, don't get your nails done, don't get a haircut. Think of all the money you've been saving, and at least one time this year, donate $20 to the RAYAC Foundation. If every single member donates $20, the foundation will raise a little over $27,000. And since we didn't raise our dues, you do have that extra 20 bucks. Everyone that donates over $20 will be entered into a drawing to win one of 3 $50 Amazon gift cards that are sponsored by Fulton Mortgage. The other fundraising event that the foundation board hosted was the virtual 5K. That event just ended this past Monday, and we appreciate everyone who participated in the race. The 5K raised $1,120.85. And it was so fun to watch as everyone posted their photos on social media once they completed the race. And it was so rewarding to know that every skip, dance, step, or bike ride that was taken was helping to make a difference in our community. Everyone that participated in the race was entered into Google's random number generator, and 10 participants won a $25 Amazon gift card. The winners are Bill Schanbarger, Kim Pasco, Heather Calhoun, Nathan Krotzer, Annabelle Krotzer, Danielle Capato, Jessica Jackson, Melinda Ippolito, our very own Heather Krieger, and myself. I had nothing to do with that. All gift cards will be placed in the mail this week. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you again to everyone that participated. And if you can think of any other wonderful virtual events to do, just give us a call. Please remember the RAYAC Foundation as you make contributions throughout the remainder of this year. Everyone truly appreciates all your support. And now it's my pleasure to introduce RAYAC Executive Officer. Here she is, Shauna Terrasso.
Thank you, Tina. You know what? I just forgot I was supposed to change the PowerPoint over. I will be right back. Sorry for that delay. I'm wearing multiple hats today. I'm part of the tech crew, part of the speech committee, and so I have another thing to apologize for as well. First of all, thank you for everyone who is out there watching our comments. It looks like between Facebook and YouTube Live, we have 100 of our members watching right now this morning. We appreciate you all so much for taking the time to tune in to us. It looks like we were remiss in also acknowledging the passing of Bill Wisman this past spring as well. So we wanted to make sure we acknowledge that as well. And when I saw that come through, you know, one of the smiles that it brought to my face is my last conversation with Bill Wisman is he had an issue and he's like, you know, I just don't like that loop-de-loop. And I'm like, loop-de-loop? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know, dot loop. And so every time I think of dot loop now, I will forever think of Bill Wisman and his issue with the loop-de-loop. So I apologize that we missed that in recognizing him during our memoriam. But I wanted to give you all a brief update over what has been happening in the York and Adams counties real estate market and what we might be able to look forward to since COVID-19. And so I think it's important to know where we are is that you know where we've been. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background on what happened in 2019 in York and Adams counties. So 2019 was really a banner year for all of us. So between our two county area, we sold 7,668 homes in 2019 for a total dollar volume of over $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. That's how much this industry has injected into our economy, and this is just the residential real estate market. For every single home that is sold, it on average generates an economic impact of $63,194 in Pennsylvania. Think about that ripple effect that every single home has in our economy. We're talking about title insurance, homeowners insurance, all those trips to Lowe's, Home Depot, contractors, people getting involved in their communities. That is the economic impact of every single home sale purchase. So if we look at the additional economic impact of each home sale purchase, in addition to that $1.5 billion, we're talking about another $484 million that residential real estate has generated in our local economy here in York and Adams counties. That's a significant impact. So, going to talk a little bit about the two counties separately here. So in 2019, in York County, we sold the largest number of homes we have ever sold in a single year. Really, really historic moment in 2019. When we started off in 2020, before the pandemic hit, we were on pace to outdo the number of home sales. We were ahead of where we were in 2019, same time period, January and February of this year. Adams County. Adams County had the third largest number of home sales that they've ever had. So 2018 was the largest number of home sales Adams County ever had. 2019 was a little bit less. So didn't have quite the historic moment as we did in 2018 for Adams County, but still an incredible year in the number of home sales. Median home sale price in York County. Highest median home sale price we've ever recorded in York County at $185,000. And as you can see from this chart that we have on the screen is that we have had an increase in the median home sale price since 2011. Things have just continued to go up and go up and go up. I am happy to report here in 2020 that the median home sale price in York County is outpacing where we were in 2019, with the median home sale price around $195,000. That's an incredible jump from where we were same time period last year. Adams County in 2019 had a median home sale price of $200,000. This is not the highest Adams County had ever experienced, but 2007 is the highest that Adams County ever experienced. That's around $215,000. But now we're in 2020. Right now in Adams County in 2020, median home sale price year to date is $219,000. So Adams County is set to have the largest median home sale price in their history right now in 2020 if those trends continue. So what has been driving up the cost of purchasing a home? Why is that median home sale price increased? Well, it's the simple laws of economics. When you have a decrease in supply, you have an increase in demand, the money and the price is going to go up. So let's talk a little bit about the supply end of things. So when we look at months supply of inventory, what does that mean? A balanced market is considered a 6 months supply of inventory. Anything below that is considered a seller's market because there's a shortage of supply. Anything above that is considered a buyer's market because there's an excess supply of inventory. 2020, we have the lowest amount of inventory we have ever recorded in the history of York County. We're looking at about a 1.5 month supply of inventory. 1.5. That is incredible. We've never experienced inventory levels. To make this even more of a clearer picture, let's look at this chart right here. So the blue line is the amount of active inventory on the market for 2019. The orange line is the amount of inventory for 2020 in York County. Look at the huge gap between 2019 and 2020. We're talking about 47% less active inventory in 2020 than we had same time period in 2019. 47% less. And I think everyone who was in real estate in 2019 would tell you that 2019 was a shortage of supply of inventory available on the market. So that's why you're seeing all of this activity happening. Homes going on the market, going under contract in a day or two, getting 9 offers on the property, having increase in the listing price of the property being offered and going to the settlement table. It truly is unprecedented, and this is why we simply do not have enough homes to sell. So in addition to that, homes are also selling at their fastest pace that we have ever experienced. So what they considered a balanced market in terms of median days on market is 60 days. Anything below that 60 days market would be considered a seller's market. Year to date, we are looking at 11 days. 11 days year to date is a median days on market for 2020. Now, the month of August posted the lowest median days we ever had in a single month. The month of August in York County, 7 days. 7 days was the median days on market. Incredibly fast. I think, people who've been in this industry, you've seen some of our officers here, most of them are seasoned agents who've been in this business for quite a while. Kim Moyer's been a member for over 40 years. This is probably, in his lifetime, he's never seen anything like this. So when we talk about supply, one of the things that we really need to do a better job of is new construction. We simply aren't building enough homes to address the supply need that we have in our communities. And so when we talk about new construction, what's impeding us from building more homes? And they typically talk about the 4 L's. Land, which is finite. Obviously, we're not producing more land, so the accessibility of land and land that is developable continues to decrease. We talk about legislation. And we know that all of those regulatory impacts on the new construction industry really drive up the cost in terms of developing a new home development. You know, things like stormwater management, subdivision and land development ordinances. Sometimes we're talking 2 years to get a saldo approved, and the market can change just like that in the new construction industry. So we really need to take a close look and working with our regulatory bodies to ensure that we can develop homes safely and economically in our marketplace, because we need more homes to develop. Labor is the 3rd L, and we have a shortage of skilled laborers in the construction market. One of my neighbors is actually he's a general contractor. He's constantly looking for more individuals that he could hire, but he can't find the individuals who have the skills to do the work. And so he has so much work, but he can't get to it, and he's booked through 2021 already. So crazy things happening in terms of the labor supply in the construction industry. And the 4th L in terms of new construction is lumber. And I recently read a report that because of the tariffs in Canada and the shortage in the supply of lumber that's available, Dr. Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, has indicated the lumber supply is raising home sale costs by $14,000 on average. $14,000 because of a shortage of lumber supply. So these are all issues that we need to address to ensure that we are creating and developing the new supply of homes that we need on the market. So I thought this picture was really, really telling. So this is from the York County Planning Commission. And what this chart shows you is that the number of residential building permits that were issued each individual year. So as you can see, back in 2005, we had the largest number of residential building permits ever issued. Around 3,500 residential building permits were issued in 2005. Actually, in 2005, the Hanover-York metro census area, we were the fastest growing area in the Northeast. And then you can see what happened from there. We had the housing market bubble, which really took a dive, really hit hard the new home construction industry. And you can see that we plummeted down. And while from 2019, we had a much better year in terms of issuing over 1,000 new building permits, that's only 1/3 of where we were back in 2005. So we continue to not develop the number of homes that we need to address the supply issue here in York County. So COVID-19. As many of you know and were aware, 2020 was set to be another banner year. Low interest rates, home buyer demand extremely high, and things were going well, and then COVID-19 hit and took everyone by surprise. So what has been the impact since all of this has hit the York and Adams County community? So I don't need to tell you this. You were all aware that in March 19th, the administration in Pennsylvania shut down any non-essential businesses and industries and said that you could not do any in-person activity. You had to do those activities virtually. Unfortunately, real estate was considered by the administration as a non-essential, non-life-sustaining industry, much to our dismay. And we were closed down for in-person activities for a 9-week period. So this chart really shows you how we took a fall in the number of homes that went under contract during that time period. Now, I can say that we did have many members who were working with those parameters and were very creative and had their sellers doing Zoom tours and showing the prospective buyers and trying to do all these different things virtually. And while that worked, in some cases, I think we all know that when people are making the largest investment of their lifetime, the majority of those folks need to see and feel that property in person. So doing real estate all virtually can work in a small amount of cases, but this is definitely an in-person industry that we need to ensure can continue to practice as an in-person industry well into the future. And then you can see what happened. As soon as the May 19th, is when Governor Wolf issued an executive order, and he declared that even in red and yellow counties, you can now do in-person real estate activity under certain parameters, and things just shot up. And here is one of my favorite charts that I'm going to show you right here. A lot of times we're talking about the pandemic and how things are recovering since the pandemic hit, and we talk about that V-curve recovery, showing a quickly recovery. I don't think there's any other industry out there that is more of an example of a V-curve recovery than residential real estate, because you can see right here the number of home sales that changed from May to July. That's a V if I've ever seen one. So we hit bottom here at the end of May, and then we shot right back up. So what's been going on since then? So this is one of our infographics that we show, and if you don't know, RAYAC releases our monthly statistics on the 10th of every month. Just as a plug here, you can copy and paste this image, use it in your social media feed. This is a really great way to share with your clients a snapshot of what's happening in the real estate market in the 2-county area. So this is York County. Highest median home sale price right now we're experiencing York County at $195,800, 7% increase up over last year. Number of home sales is still down, still trying to recover from that 9-week shutdown that we experienced in York County, but it's only down by 5%. When we were back in May, I believe we were down by like 30%. So we've covered a lot of ground and made up a lot of those home sales over the summer months, and it looks like fall's taking up to be one of our best falls ever. Adams County, again, set to be one of the highest median home sale prices if we continue on this pace. $219,900 median home sale price in Adams County, a 10% increase over the median home sale price same time period last year. Adams County is actually doing better in terms of making up a ground. They're only 2% down in the number of home sales compared to the same time period last year. So the recovery is going extremely well in our 2-county area. So what's trending as a result? Interest rates. I think everybody out there knows this story of interest rates and what the historically low interest rates are having on the marketplace, not just purchasing a home, but refinancing. Our poor appraisers just don't have enough hours in a day to get done all the work that they have between the refinancing and the new home sale purchase. So I don't know if anybody out there would ever think that they would have seen in their lifetime a 30-year interest rate at 2.8%. I don't know how many people thought that they would ever see that. That is incredible. While that's a good thing to drive home sales and home purchases, just, something to keep in mind that I think about at times is what's going to happen when interest rates go back up. Because we do know that eventually interest rates will go up. It's a good thing. It's a sign of a healthy economy to have a slightly higher interest rate. And will people be willing to give up if they locked in at 2.8% at a 30-year loan? Will they be able to give up and buy up in that home buying market for a 5% interest rate? Will they be willing to do that, or will they save up and wait till they have the cash to do so? So what's going to be the long-term impact of these extremely low interest rates? And if you think about a millennial, the average age of millennial right now is in their 30s. And honestly, in their adult lifetime, they have never seen an interest rate that's been above 5. To them, 5 is extremely high. And then I think about my parents who built a home in 1983, and they got a new construction loan. I think it was 13.5%. 13.5% new construction loan, and my dad said they did everything possible to pay off that new construction loan because they did not want to have to pay that extremely high interest rate. So yes, people who lived through the 80s understand what high interest rates are, but people who are coming into adulthood now, the thought of a 5% interest rate is just astronomical to them. So what's going to be that impact in the future? First-time home buyers are remaining at historically low levels. So typically the first-time home buyers averaged around that 47 to 48% of the home buying market. In 2019, it was only 33% of the home buying market were first-time home buyers. And what is holding back those first-time home buyers from getting into the marketplace? And we hear all of those different conversations about, all those millennials are spending all their money on avocado toast and buying the, the latest and greatest technology gear. Well, some of that may be slightly true, but that's not the real thing that's holding back any of our first-time home buyers getting into the marketplace. Truly what is holding back our first-time home buyers, and they'll tell you in their surveys, is their student loan debt. And on average, the student loan debt of someone coming out of a four-year college is $41,000. And 83% of our millennials have indicated that the loan debt is holding them back from purchasing a home. And on average, that loan debt is holding them back 7 years before they're able to purchase a home. 7 years. So another trend that has been happening with first-time home buyers is they're skipping the ring. Less and less married individuals are making up the first-time home buyer demographic. So in the 1980s, early 90s, 75% of first-time home buyers were married couples. Today, it's only around 53%. Another interesting thing here is now single females are now tied with unmarried couples. So 17% of the first-time home buying market are single females and also the unmarried couples. Here's another thing on here. You see on this chart, it says other at 4%. This is what we're calling the golden girl effect. Other is individuals who are purchasing a home with friends, purchasing a home with somebody else who they're not in a romantic relationship with, but they're buying a home together and they're living like Sophia and Rose and Dorothy and Blanche. So the other effect, the golden girl effect, is hitting the marketplace. Another big trend is that all buyers are skipping the baby. So back in the mid 80s, early 90s, 58%, close to 60% of home buyers had children who were under the age of 18. 2019, only 35% of buyers had children under the age of 18. So not having children has changed the type of properties that a prospective buyer might be looking for. This is probably something all of you know, is that 1/3 of first-time home buyers needed to get assistance from friends and family in order to get a down payment. So this has been one of those issues that we have credit-worthy borrowers, but they simply don't have the cash to purchase a home. That's why PAR is working on a first-time home buyers account savings account, so that we can have this in Pennsylvania and you can get some tax savings, and grandma and grandpa and mom and dad, just like a 529 plan, can start to put money aside for their children and grandchildren to purchase a home and have some tax incentives for it, because we see there's a large number of individuals who need help from family and friends to purchase a home. Other interesting trend is that fur babies, pets, are having a huge impact on the decisions that home buyers are making on what type of home that they are purchasing. 2019, 89% of millennial buyers who bought a home had a pet. 89%. And for a lot of those, they have made the decision, they indicated that, hey, they base their decision on where to purchase a home based upon some of their pet needs. So I would say to all of you, what are you doing to market your property to show some of those pet-friendly amenities? Maybe you have, a closed-in backyard, or there's an invisible fence installed, or you're near a dog park. Maybe you want to start using some of your marketing tools to indicate some of the pet-friendly amenities, because so many people are now making decisions on where they buy a home based upon what their dog or cat or turtle needs. So, how has COVID-19 changed some buyer preferences? So, we've learned from studies for people who have moved, and the number one reason that millennials have decided to move during this time period is they wanted to be closer to family and friends. So we've seen that when you had to shelter in place and you were supposed to stay at home, millennials who might have been living, out in a big city somewhere and they were by themselves decided to give up that lease, move back to where their family and friends and be closer to them so that they could social distance with the ones that they loved. We're also seeing that more and more buyers, 43% of them, are now looking for an extra bedroom or office for the home that they're looking for, because so many individuals are working from home and they need that extra office space. I know I am one of those folks who is if I would have to continue to work from home for a very long period of time, I would have to figure some things out because my dining room cannot continue to serve as my office and my children's, homeschool study area, because that just wasn't working out so well for me this past spring. So that's why so many buyers are out there looking for that extra bedroom office space. 13% of buyers from the marketplace have shifted away and they no longer want to look for multifamily homes. They want to have a single family. So they're moving away from being in those duplexes or townhouses and they're looking for a single family residence, 13% of those buyers. One of the big issues that we typically see from buyers is they're concerned about the commute time. How long does it take me to get to work? But since the pandemic, we've had so many more folks who are looking to, or who are working from home, that all of a sudden that commute time is no longer a concern. So that makes their availability of properties that they're willing to look at has drastically changed, because 22% of them are no longer concerned about how long it's going to take them to get to work. It's probably going to take them the 3 minutes to get from the bedroom to the office. Their commute time has changed substantially. And we have seen a big shift in the number of individuals who are preferring to live in suburbs, in rural areas, over those urban centers because of everything that happened with COVID-19. We've seen a big shift back to the suburbs and rural marketplaces. So this chart right here gives you the location, and 47% of home buyers are looking to purchase a home in a suburbs, and about 39% is looking to purchase in a rural area, and then small town makes about 25%. So you can see there's been a huge shift where for many years there was a push that people wanted to live in urban areas to have that walkability and access to amenities that are close by. And since the pandemic, that shift has now greatly gone back to the suburbs and the rural areas and outside of our urban cores. So one thing I always like to do in all of my presentations is, why is homeownership so important to our whole entire community? And we did talk about the impact of purchasing a home and the economic impact for our community at large, but the impact for an individual and a family is huge. Home ownership is one of the biggest wealth generators in our country. This chart right here shows you the median net worth of homeowners versus renters. So the median net worth of a homeowner is $231,000 versus the median net worth of a renter, which has been virtually unchanged since 1989, is about $5,300. That is a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots in terms of home ownership versus renters. So when we talk about millennials being delayed because of their student loan debt by 7 years, we're delaying their ability to accumulate wealth because they haven't gotten into the home ownership market. So these are conversations that we should be having with our children about how being a homeowner really will increase your future economic wealth by purchasing a home when you're ready at an earlier time period, so you can start to build up that wealth and equity. Here is a chart which showcases the home ownership rates by race. 2020 there's been a lot of dialogue surrounding the race issue in our country. One of the biggest gaps that we see in our country between different races is their home ownership rate. So in the United States, a non-Hispanic white, a Caucasian individual, has a home ownership rate of about 72% of Caucasians own a home, versus a member of the Black community is only 42%. So there is a huge gap in the percentage of home ownership rates based upon race in our country. And as I indicated before, there's a big difference between how much wealth you can accumulate as a homeowner versus how much wealth you're accumulating as a renter. So getting more individuals, persons of color, into home ownership will increase their ability to generate wealth. So how does our home ownership in our community compare? Well, in York and Adams County, we have a very high home ownership rate. So in York County, 74% is a home ownership rate in our county. In Adams County, it's 77%. So we're doing much better than the country and the state as a whole, because in Pennsylvania, the home ownership rate is 69% of Pennsylvanians are homeowners, and in the United States, 64% of Americans are homeowners. The spot, though, that there was a big difference is the city of York, which only 41% of residents of the city of York are homeowners. So that's a big difference, and one of the things that we should work towards is decreasing that gap between renters and homeowners in the city of York. So that's everything I wanted to share with you in terms of the residential marketplace. We have a ton of statistics available on our website. I hope you check it out. I hope you use those stats that we give out to you monthly and share that information with your clients. And since I've given you the residential perspective, we wanted to take an opportunity to also give you the commercial perspective. And we're very fortunate because our 2020 president, Heather Krieger, her primary real estate function is she works in commercial real estate. So Heather's going to give you a little bit of information of what's been happening in the commercial market activity since the pandemic. So Heather.
All righty. Thanks, Shauna. That was an awesome presentation. And while they're getting things switched over here, I'm just going to start by saying I appreciate being here today, and I look forward to talking with you about the trends that we're seeing in the commercial real estate market. Again, as Shauna said, my background and specialty is in commercial real estate. I work all over central Pennsylvania, and so I'm honored to share these trends today. So let me try to do this all at one time here. So that is not the right way. So some of the things that we're going to talk about, so really what I want to focus on today is going through what our market has already seen since the pandemic, and then also a little bit of the impacts from COVID and what could be an impact later on. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what the numbers are and where they come from. I'm going to give you a quick snapshot of the individual sectors in York County, which are industrial, office, and retail. And I want to give you a little bit of information about some of the impacts that we've seen from COVID and some of the things that could happen because of the pandemic. So a little bit of information about the numbers. The York County market numbers are compiled on a quarterly basis by my brokerage firm. The residential numbers are pretty easily pulled from Bright MLS. Commercial is a little bit different because our market is a bit more segmented. And so we have a team of individuals that goes through and pulls information from MLS, from CoStar and LoopNet, from Crexi, from Public Records, and a lot of other various sources. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background information, some of the numbers that you're going to hear me go through, some of the metrics that we use to gauge the market. So we have total inventory, which is the number of existing buildings. Vacancy rate is actually a measure of the vacant square footage, and it's expressed as a percentage. So basically, if you have 1 million square feet existing, you have 100,000 square feet vacant, you have a 10% vacancy rate. And then absorption is actually the measure of the total square feet occupied during a specific time period. And these numbers, the vacancy and absorption, are very good metrics to use to gauge how the market is going. But I can tell you that there are a lot of factors that go into those numbers. And so knowing those factors and where they come from actually makes it easier to gauge how the market is moving. We also track average lease rates, and then we also track the new inventory. And the new inventory is anything new construction. So it could be things that are proposed and things that are under construction. All right, so we're going to start with the industrial market summary of York County. And I'm just going to preface this by saying there's a lot of information here. I know there's a lot of information here, and I'm going to kind of go through it rather quickly. So if anybody does have any specific questions, feel free to put it into the chat. We have somebody monitoring that. We can get to that, or if you even want to reach out to me after this is over, by all means, I'd be happy to sit and talk with you. Okay, so the York County industrial market highlights. York County has historically had a very robust industrial market. And as you can see, the total inventory is 80.6 million square feet. And that's made up of all different types of industrial product, warehouse, distribution, manufacturing, and so on. At the end of the second quarter, the vacancy rate actually dropped slightly down to 4.13%. And as you can see on the chart of net absorption and vacancy, you can actually see that the vacancy trend is on a downward trend and has been for the last several years. The average, the national average is actually 5.2%. So the York County industrial market is actually very strong compared to even the national average. We saw an almost $2 jump in the average lease rate per square foot in the second quarter. So average lease rates are now $526 a square foot, so that's excellent. And then another very strong metric about York County is that there's 8.45 million square feet of new industrial product in the pipeline. So that's new buildings that are under construction or those that are proposed. And so one of the things that it's really interesting because, you know, the question really is has the pandemic negatively affected the industrial market? And the answer is no. It has absolutely not affected negatively the industrial market. And actually, the demand for industrial space is expected to remain high even in all that we've been through. And the reason for that is because the rise of online shopping has created this massive demand for distribution space. So in a recent report by JLL, they're predicting that the United States is going to require 1 billion square feet of industrial space in the next 5 years. That is insane. And a lot of that is being driven by e-commerce needs. And then also there's this new trend of the need for cold storage and distribution space because of grocery delivery options. So the question really is Central PA poised for some of this development? And the answer is absolutely, absolutely, and here's why. So what you're looking at is a map of Central Pennsylvania, or is actually a map of the East Coast. And the little blue pin dot in the middle of the map is York County. And the red ring around it is a 4-hour drive time. So why is this important? So what you're looking at here is actually extremely important for distribution and warehouse because the 4-hour drive time actually represents a 1-day trip. 4 hours out to a site to drop off and 4 hours to come home. And so one of the biggest factors about Central PA is its location to other metropolitan markets in the highway connectivity system that exists here. Think about it. We have 30 and I-83, and because of those two corridors, we can reach I-76, which is the Pennsylvania Turnpike, we can reach 81, we can go to 695 in Baltimore, and all of these other places. And so actually a warehouse user who puts a new space in York County can reach 42 million people within a 4-hour drive time. That's insane. And actually, if you stack it up against other markets throughout the United States, we have one of the strongest distribution markets out there. So that is excellent news for Central Pennsylvania. The other very interesting thing is we have an availability of workforce here that maybe you can't find in some other markets, and that makes it very attractive for new users coming into this marketplace. But like Shauna said, we have some very large challenges with these types of users who are looking to build million-plus square feet boxes. And one of them is finding land that's large enough, that's zoned properly. And the second is the government and environmental regulations that affect the development of this type of product. This is not an easy project to build, and this process can actually take several years to complete. So a little bit about the office market. So I will start by saying traditionally the office market in Central PA has not suffered nearly as much as some of the major metropolitan areas and other economic downturns. And we've recovered relatively quickly, and we believe that that's going to be the case even in this pandemic. But I will also say that I personally don't believe that we have felt the full impact of the pandemic just yet. There is so much uncertainty still surrounding COVID and the pandemics, and so it's really actually hard to gauge where we're going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and so on. So much of this is speculative at this point, but I'll give you my thoughts anyways. So, excuse me. The York County office market is made up of 13.17 million square feet. The vacancy rate in the second quarter actually fell slightly down to 5.66%, which again, if you look at the vacancy trend, which is the red line on your screen, you can see that vacancy has been trending downward over the last couple of years. And actually, the vacancy rate in the office market has shifted very little over that time period. I know it kind of looks like it is there, but if you actually look at the numbers, it's not been moving up and down that much. The local office market is definitely in a strong position compared to the national levels, where the national vacancy rate was 13.7%. And we've seen an upward trend in the average lease rates per square foot, which is good. So the average lease rate at the end of the second quarter was $12.76. The other thing that we have seen, though, is that we've actually seen a decrease in the amount of office square feet that's been leased per year, year over year since 2016. And 2020 has gotten off to a very slow start, mostly because of everything that's been happening with the pandemic. So the big question with COVID that COVID poses is, we know that the office market is changing. We know that, but the real question is what is it changing to? So there are a lot of key factors that are happening right now that are going to have a huge impact on office space needs and how businesses and employees interact with their office space. The biggest one, obviously, is employees working from home. So, over the last 6 months, we've had many companies who have sent their employees to work from home, and now are questioning whether or not that this is going to be something that is going to continue into the future. And while there are some companies and some people who don't want to work from home, there are other ones who are actually taking this time to embrace this and embrace these changes. And so what does that look like from now going forward? So technology has made it easier to work from home and from nearly anywhere. I can get in my car and I can work from my car. I can be at my house and I can work from my home. I can go to my office. I can do all of these different things, and it's just like I'm still sitting at the office. And I know I'm not the only one. Zoom and web conferencing platforms are now standard. And by the way, if you did not know, Zoom's revenue increased 169% to $328.2 million from 1 year ago. Crazy, right? And then you have technologies like voice over IPs and VPNs that now make it easy to conduct business without any interruptions whatsoever, no matter where you are sitting at. The next one is social distancing. So how will social distancing affect a user's need for office space? It's really interesting because if you go back into, the olden days, a lot of offices were developed with private offices, executive offices. It was cut up space. And then in the last 10 years, the big conversation became, we have to have these open concept spaces because we want our employees to be a team. We all want to work together. We need to be able to collaborate. And so that in the last 10 years has all been all about the open office concept. Well, now we're starting to understand that maybe the open office concept isn't the greatest thing in the whole wide world, because not only are we collaborating with people, but we're also opening them up to communicable diseases. COVID-19 is one of them. So there is this concept now of what will happen, what the next office design is going to look like. And one of the terms that has now recently come up is called this dynamic workplace. And so dynamic workplaces are sort of a combination of open offices and then the old style. So where you still have those areas where your employees can come together and work, but yet you have other areas that are split up and separated so that you can socially distance properly. So one of the things that people don't want to come back to is they don't want to come back to feeling like they're in prison. So that's the bud for this dynamic workplaces. So it will be interesting to track that and see how that happens over the next couple of years. Very much just like Shauna said, one of the other issues with this work from home trend, if that continues, is what does that do for development? So in the last 10 to 15 years, we've heard so much about the development dollars being in downtown markets. And so now, people want to live, work, and play in downtowns, but that's not so much the case anymore. If people are working from home or if they're leaving the downtowns and moving out to the suburbs, a lot of economists believe that the development development focus for the next 10 years is actually going to be in those suburban markets because they want to be where the employees are working from. So some other things to look for there. And then the other very interesting thing is that there have been some changes in the medical office arena where we heard of, telemedicine has been on the rise for the last couple of years, and it was predicted that it was going to be this big trend for over the next 5 years. Well, coronavirus has really boosted that up. So the rise in telemedicine services is really making its way into here also. And then the last very interesting thing, and this is something to think about is that there is this huge race for broadband services. We've heard, over the last 6 months about how, some children are not being educated properly because they don't have access to broadband services, that there are some people who cannot work from home because they don't have broadband services at their home. Well, now there is a huge race to have this broadband service be extended so that everybody has the opportunity to connect. And one of the most interesting pieces of this is that Amazon is actually joining this race. So if you have not heard this, Amazon's already been approved, but they are actually investing $10 billion into like 3,600 satellites that they're going to launch into low Earth orbit, and the purpose to compete in broadband services. And now I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's because they want them to buy their services. Yes, that is true. They want you to buy products on Amazon. That's why they're doing it. However, if you think about that and you think about what kind of impact that actually has on our futures, the future of education, the future of medicine, the future of how we work and interact, it's going to play a huge part into our futures. So I thought that was a really interesting one that I wanted to share. All right. So then last, we'll talk about the retail market. So much like the office market, I don't necessarily believe that we've seen the full impact on the actual retail market locally just yet. Although all of us are very much aware that retail has probably taken the biggest hit so far. So a little bit about the York County retail market. Our total inventory is 28.86 million square feet with a vacancy rate of 7.97%. Unfortunately, we've seen that the retail vacancy has been on an upward trajectory over the past 2 years, and a lot of that has to do with the large box retail, the large retail boxes that have gone dark. The average for all retail types, the vacancy at the end of the second quarter was 6.8%, so you can see that we're lagging a little bit behind the national average. Negative absorption levels combined with that steadily increasing vacancy suggests that supply is outpacing demand. And then the average lease rate, we did see a drop in the average lease rates in the second quarter, and that is mostly due to the fact that we had more leases signed in street retail and convenience centers than we did in those large power centers with, the big anchors. All right, so retail going forward. Retailers will have to pivot and adopt creative solutions to connect with their customers. It's going to remain a key to their success as we go forward into the future. We're all aware that restaurants and bars have taken a hit. Many of them have had outdoor dining options that have been life-saving, but unfortunately, as we come into the colder months, that's probably going to go away, and so they have to find other ways to be able to connect with their customers. So the carry-out and delivery options are going to be key. And then one thing that has definitely been interesting as we've gone through this is these increased partnerships with third-party delivery options. And what I mean is the Uber Eats and the Grubhub. So where I live, I've never been able to order food from some places, and Grubhub has made that possible, and it's been fantastic, and I'm overly excited about it, which is probably not a good thing. But the Uber Eats revenue actually increased 53% since 2019, and Grubhub increased by 12%. And there are actually talks of a merger between these two brands, which would actually create one of the largest food delivery service options in the US. So that will be a trend to watch as well. The tourism and entertainment industry was also tremendously impacted by the pandemic. Tourism represents 10% of the global GDP, which is impressive. That's a huge number. US travel spending was down by 44%, and the pandemic is responsible for $396 billion in cumulative losses for the US travel industry, and a loss of $50.9 billion in federal, state, and local revenues. So that's really tough. But even with everything surrounding the tourism industry, the one bright spot, the hottest form of travel this summer was camping. So if you read the recent report from the Campgrounds of America, campground vacancy was at its all-time low. The sales of RVs and rental of RVs and sales of basic camping equipment skyrocketed this year. And that is because as a way of socially distancing and people wanted to be outside of their house, camping was the easiest way to do that. So they got to go out, they got to be in nature, they got to spend time with their family and friends. So camping is a good thing. So, and then how has the pandemic shifted retail sales? Well, we've heard lots of stories about, the bankruptcies that are occurring and different things, but not every retailer is treated the same with this pandemic. So obviously, I'm sure most of you will not be surprised to hear that some large retailers such as Walmart, Target, some of the grocery stores and Lowe's and Home Depot all posted very strong earnings recently. Amazon, earnings are up 40%. We're not surprised. But then you have the stories of Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, who were generally very successful prior to the pandemic, and they lost 50% of their foot traffic over this time period. And so with that news, they are now talking about closing down hundreds of locations across the US and actually have already started to do so. And the reason for that is because they want to take their time to focus more on the stores that have drive-throughs because again, they're losing foot traffic. So they want to focus that effort on being able to have that curbside pickup, that delivery and the drive-through. And again, in the recent news over the last couple of days, many of you probably heard that Regal Cinema's parent company recently announced that they are going to be indefinitely closing all of their locations across the US because of health concerns and lack of ticket sales. So that's not a permanent thing, it's temporary, but we don't know what's going to happen with that, and we'll see more as we go on. So then the last thing that I wanted to point out about retail are the two major shopping seasons, which are back to school shopping and Christmas. So we already know that the back to school shopping season was affected by everything that has happened. The spending has actually shifted where in previous years it was clothing and backpacks and different things like that. That has now shifted this year mostly because of kids either being online or having a hybrid model or something. So there's less money being spent on clothing while more money is actually being spent on electronics, home office furniture, and supplies. And then Christmas shopping, the big question really is how the pandemic is actually going to affect the Christmas shopping season. Christmas shopping is literally the biggest retail sale holiday of the year. There are many retailers who count on that Black Friday and Christmas season shopping to, for their success for the next year. And so it will be interesting to see how that is all affected, specifically if there is another shutdown that comes in the colder months. So in conclusion, I'm going to end with a quote from Socrates because I feel like this is going to be a big part of the coming months and the years going ahead or going forward. And there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that COVID-19 is an absolute game changer for so many different reasons. The way that we interact with businesses and the way that we buy our homes and all of these different things, COVID-19 is an absolute game changer. But I don't know that we've seen the full impact just yet. And whether or not that impact is going to be a negative thing, it could just be very different. And with all the uncertainty surrounding it, as well as the political climate and all of the events, it's very hard to predict where that shift and change is actually going to occur. And so the only thing that we know for sure is that change is needed and will have to occur in order for businesses to be successful and relevant into the future. So Socrates once said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on finding the old, but on building the new." So I've given you my contact information again. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you ever want to reach out to me just to reach out and have a conversation, by all means, I'd be happy to do so. All right. All right. So If you have the opportunity to put questions in for either myself or for Shauna, we have somebody monitoring that, and we can have them give us those questions. We can try to answer them as best as possible. So have we received any? No? Okay. Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay. So moving on to the announcement of our dues winner. So everyone who voted by absentee ballot was entered into a drawing for the free local dues. So that winner is Solmaria Martinez Arce of Berkshire Hathaway in Shrewsbury. Congratulations. We would like to thank all of you for tuning in to our first ever virtual annual meeting, and we wish you a healthy rest of 2020 and look forward to seeing you in 2021.